Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the Train Station. As always, I am your host, A Train, and I'm doing a new project here. Kaleb, who's with me right now, and we call this the Red Devil Roundtable, where we are going to talk about Manchester United games from the weeks that they were played, whether it's one game, two game, maybe even three games. So, Kaleb, appreciate you dropping in to do this with me, man.
No problem. Let's get to it.
So they opened up the season last Monday against Wolverhampton Wanderers, a team that always seems to play United really tough. This time out
Yep.
was no different. United squeaked out a 1-0 win.
hmm Yeah. Close one to the very end.
Some takeaways from the game is I think they played a horrendous first half. I think they came out slow and they just looked unorganized, and it almost felt like they were still acting like it was the preseason. Didn't really have any team bond or team chemistry or anything. They were kind of just all over the place trying to figure it out.
Yeah, for me, like you're saying, it felt like preseason, especially in the midfield. I know Mount hasn't played with Casemiro and Bruno, but they just looked like they hadn't, put the time in yet, and it definitely looked, like you said, unorganized, especially in the midfield. Um, they hadn't, sorted things out on everyone's playing style and kind of getting used to, moving the ball up the field and then getting back and making sure that those. I mean, we had major holes in the middle of the field.
Yeah, and new signing Mason Mount for whatever it is in pounds. I think it's like 80 million US dollars. He
Mm-hmm.
he did some good things, but I expected a little bit more out of his debut. But considering he's still getting his feet wet in Manchester, he did some good things. He runs around. He's a very high energy guy, as well as Bruno Fernandes. So we have two very high energy guys in the midfield, which will only benefit Casemiro and company later on in the season.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one thing that you can always count Mount for, is he's going to bring a lot of intensity. He's going to be aggressive, and I think it's just those three guys getting used to playing with each other and making sure that um, even when we're staying aggressive, we're staying, organized and making sure that we're not playing too aggressive to where, we get counters and, um, then we just leave the defense and Onana to rescue the day.
And I think we started to see that a lot in the second half. Like I said, the first half it was very sloppy, but the second half, you could kind of start to see them gel a lot together. And I think a lot of that had to do with some of the subs that they made. Um, I think Garnacho should be coming off the bench permanently. I think he's a much more high energy guy. He's kind of like the sixth man in basketball, where if he comes off the bench, he'll provide that spark.
Yeah.
Because he struggled when he started, and he struggled bad. He looked bad pretty much the entire game until he was subbed off. However, Jaden Sancho came in. They moved him into that false nine role that he was playing in the preseason, and he looked a lot like his Borussia Dortmund self playing that false nine. He created a lot of chances for Rashford and them on the wing, and it allowed Wan Bissaka and the wingers to and the wingbacks to come up and
You had to
really
come up.
play,
Yeah.
and which allowed Wan Bissaka to have that beautiful pass to Varane for the goal.
Yeah. It was a great play. Like you said, going back on things, Sancho needs to start at center field for us. I mean, he like his false nine. He's not really a striker,
Right.
um, but he's um, he can score, but mainly he is able to push the ball up the and cause the defense to collapse. allowing, like you said, Juan Bissaka to come up in there. And, we had a couple guys in the box, and Varane came up big for us on that. Um, I also, to me, well, what I noticed, and I don't know if you noticed the same, but Garnacho and Rashford both like being on the left side, and having them on the field at the same time kind of congests things on the left side. Um, and when you have Sancho in the middle, Rashford can then just occupy the left side where he's been brilliant. He was the best left winger in Premier League last year. So why would you move him away from there?
Well, because obviously the signing of Højlund or whatever his name is, he's not healthy yet. So, and we can't. Manchester United has never been able to rely on Anthony Martial to stay healthy. So you have to kind of switch things up, and Rashford's able to play the striker, and while he's not the best striker, they don't really have any other options. I mean, you
Yeah,
could you could line him up like we were talking about. You could line Sancho up as the false nine instead of a striker, and then have Rashford out on the wing with like an Antony out on the other wing or a
yeah,
Palestri out on the other wing, and then you could push Mountain Fernandez back, which would put Casemiro into an even deeper center defensive role, closer to what he played with at Real Madrid.
yeah. And I feel like you said, you sort of saw that in the end there, and
Mm-hmm.
it worked out a lot better. I think that's what we need to do. Um, I again, you mentioned him, Anthony. I really have loved what he's done in the preseason, and then yesterday I saw um, him trying to push the ball up. I feel like something that we missed from him last year was trying to make some better passes, and I saw that. Hoping more assists come from that from his side, and hopefully into Rashford and Sancho and Garnacho. So I think that might be something that we will have to do until we can get a striker healthy, because I guess that's just
Well,
a cursed position for us right now.
Martial is healthy, but do you risk playing him in a game like that and then he's out for 3 months because he freaking doesn't want to play due to a sore hamstring?
Yeah,
Uh,
man's allergic to play. I mean,
I don't know. I Anthony played okay, but personally, I haven't been too impressed with him overall. And I
he.
don't know
I
if
mean,
that's just because of him still adjusting to the speed of the Premier League compared to the Dutch division, or if he's just trying too hard to impress Ten Hag because of the jersey he's wearing now. But I just feel like oftentimes he tries to do too much, and then he doesn't always pass when he needs to pass.
oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like we're getting a more consistent, you know, a team player from him so far early in the year, um, because last year it became a liability with him out there, that there was just too many turnovers. There was too many, like you said, forceful or just unnecessary, um, you know, decisions by him, whether it be dribbling too much, or him trying to shoot when there's players open, or when him trying to make a pass when he should just shoot. It was like he was always trying to do something that, you know, just to make an impressive play.
Right. So yeah, like I said, they picked it up in the second half, and they actually look like a competent team. They have Spurs coming up on Saturday. A Harry Kaneless Spurs as he made his move to Bayern Munich. A little bit off topic, real quick, but did you see that when he moved to Bayern Munich, they lost their first cup game with him playing or with him on the team?
Yeah,
So
I
it's
did.
like I don't know if he's actually ever gonna get that much wanted trophy that he wants. It just seems like it's kind of cursed for him to win anything at this point. It's a long season though, and it's only one game. And
Yeah.
obviously, Bayern Munich kind of runs the Bundesliga, but it would be hilarious to me if they didn't win it this year and Harry Kane went over there. It would just kind of be like, well, I guess you're really never getting that trophy.
That honestly would be too funny. I mean, he's like you said, he's just searching for that trophy, and this is a trophy that should be handed out to Bayern every year. But yeah, Tottenham without Harry. What are your initial thoughts on them, and what do you think we can do to attack this team, and what do you think we need to do to prevent a loss?
What they need to do is they need to get on the phones and they need to find themselves another center back because that position is still very thin. And if it comes down to it, I would rather go out there and play than see Harry Maguire step foot on the field ever again. Speaking of that, his West Ham move has collapsed because he wants Man United to pay him £8 million, and they refuse to do that. I don't know who he thinks he is. He's not that guy that he thinks he is, but he wants a payout in order to move to West
Yeah,
Ham. So it is not going to happen, which
it's a
means
greedy, selfish move.
which means that United cannot move on with guys like Toledo, Pavard, guys like
Um,
that, because
Center mids that we've been looking to get as
yeah, Amber
you know,
Rat and those kind of guys cannot happen
Gravenberch.
because this clown will not leave the club.
Yeah, yeah. It's been what 2 years now that everybody's wanted him out, and he's still there.
He doesn't want to
Um,
leave. That's the problem. Before we talk about the Spurs, I do want to go back real quick and talk about the game with the Wolves and mention the difference that the new goalkeeper Andre Onana makes
yes.
because that man played insane. I feel like some of those we seen it last year that some of those saves that he made, De Gea would have crapped the bed and let the ball go by, and they would have probably lost 2, 3, even 4-0.
Yeah, it was
But
really the
you can
aggressive
really see
goaltending
the
play.
difference that Onana brings to the team as a whole, and that's not hating on De Gea. He'll always be a Man United legend, but I think it was kind of like a mutual breakup kind of thing. It was time. Onana absolutely brings a whole different
Yeah,
set of values to this team. And I think in the long run, as the season goes on, it's going to be very important. I mean, there was a reason he was MVP of the Champions League last year, and we saw just a little glimpse of that on Monday.
I think at the end of the year, he could be considered one of the best, if not the best, goaltenders in the world, and more performances like that will get him up there. Everybody talks about how he's, you know, a very aggressive goalkeeper as far as pushing the ball up the field and always wanting to play it. But I mean, Monday he showed us that he can make the big saves. He can, uh, you know, be up in front of the attackers and just cause disruption. Um, there was many times where I thought that the defenders had kind of let them go by, and he was right there every time.
Yeah, and
Every
that's been the big difference between. I mean, I know it's been just one game, so maybe we're overreacting a little bit to game one, but I think that's the biggest difference that I noticed from this year to last year is oftentimes when Martinez or Varane or Harry Maguire or whoever played center back got beat, there wasn't really much that David De Gea could do because he's not really one to play with the ball at his feet. Where
Mhm.
Onana is able to play with the ball at his feet, so it's almost like having an extra defender out there when the other two get beat. So that is the biggest thing that I noticed right
Yes.
away. Hopefully that continues onto the season because if that happens, there's going to be a lot of clean sheets that Manchester, like David De Gea with the terrible back line he had last year, won Golden Glove. If Onana keeps turning out performances that he did, they may just win the Premier League. Like he's that big of a game changer.
Yeah, for sure. Um, the the big end of the game here. I got to get your opinion on this. What are your thoughts on the no call
Oh, it
at
was
the end?
as a Manchester United fan, 100% Wolves got robbed. It was a penalty.
Yeah.
He
Do
didn't
you
even.
just
He didn't. Onana did not even go for the
go
ball.
for the
Like the
ball?
ball was already passed, and he like karate chopped the dude down. It was 100% a penalty.
Yeah.
You know it was a penalty because those refs are not reffing this weekend. Any game.
Yeah.
The Premier
Uh,
League
I-
pretty much suspended the refs, so that pretty much tells you, yeah, United got away with one. Not
I'm
saying
not
that
saying they would have
Onana
scored,
wouldn't have
but it
saved
was
the
a foul.
penalty, because it very well could have. Onana very well could have saved the penalty, but yeah, it 100% was a penalty.
Yeah. We got bailed out or paid out, but um, you know, other than that, I think Onana played great, and
But I also
hopefully,
don't think, and yeah, it looked like a bad call, and Wolves, obviously Wolves fans will be upset and have everyone. But I don't think that one call justifies the entire game because Wolves had a lot of chances to score and they just
yes,
couldn't.
yeah,
There's a reason why last year Wolves were one of the worst was the worst scoring team in the Premier League, and clearly it showed again. Like they had chance after chance and they just couldn't take advantage. So while yeah they might have tied it with the penalty and United might be looking at 1 point instead of three, there was a lot more opportunities for Wolves that they just couldn't capitalize on.
yeah. They outshot us by a large
Wolves
margin.
outshot them, outplayed United in the first half. In the second half,
Yes,
when Man United finally got it together and tired Wolves out, they finally looked like the more superior team, which they should be. But Wolves had, if Wolves would have capitalized in the first half, United would have won in the loss column and not the win column.
yeah, yeah.
So
Agreed.
yeah. So moving on to the Spurs game, I think, and this is just what I think they should come out very attack heavy and really push the game and push to be out in front. Because if you've ever noticed with Ten Hag's tactics, he likes to switch things up when he has the lead. He likes to play very, very defensive after he's gotten one or two goals.
Yep.
And that's okay, but if you're going to do that, start the game out hot. Push the ball up the field. I want to see Martial, Rashford, Sancho, Mount, Fernandez. I want to see all those guys playing all at once. I want to see them up the field. I don't want to see them pass the or the Spurs half. I just want to see them push up, be very aggressive, score early, control the game, something they weren't able to do against Wolves, and I think they could. And I think they could win.
Yeah.
But I
Um.
think if they get off to the start that they got off with the Wolves, I think Spurs, because Spurs, even without Harry Kane, are still a good team, and we can't. They might finish outside of the top six, but that doesn't mean that they'll be a bad team. They're still going to be a really good team, and if they play the way they played against Wolves, United will lose and lose bad.
Yeah. The one thing that Spurs have always done, regardless of Harry Kane, is what you're saying, is they can score. They can always score.
And they
They've
added the dude from Leicester. What's his name?
McAllister,
No,
correct?
no.
Or who are you thinking of?
Madison? James Madison? Did they add
James
him?
Madison.
Yeah, they added Madison, so they added another attacking mid to that team, and they still have Son, who obviously can change the game.
And Richarlison from
And
Brazil.
well, don't get me started on him. I am not worried about Richarlison at all. Big flop.
uh, but I mean, they can score.
Yep.
That's something where if we can get ahead, if we can get two early goals in the first half, that'll help us a lot. I think we need to, like you said, we need to push the ball in their side and keep it in there, keep possession. make sure that we're making strong attacks and finishing on them. Um, I think what we can do, looking at the Spurs team, is we can win the midfield, and we can definitely push on their defense. I feel like we can easily cause problems for them in our attack, and as long as we start off better than we did last game, uh, that'll definitely help us.
Yeah. I will say that I want them. Like I said, I want them to start aggressive because the one thing that they did with Wolves is they waited too long to tire Wolves out to take advantage. And I think if you tire them out earlier in the game and you control the game, then you'll have even a much easier second half than you had against Wolves. So I want to
Yeah,
see an absolute just barn burner of a first half. I want them to go out strong and, but it all depends on what Ten Hag also is starting with. If I were him, like I said, I would start Sancho at the false nine and then have Rashford and I would go Antony, even though maybe Palestri would be the better move just in the first half. And then obviously Mount, Fernandez, Casemiro, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Martinez, and then Luke Shaw.
I think that's how I see it. I think Garnacho and Palistri can definitely come on strong in the second half. We're going to need them to.
I think
Um,
a guy that could come on strong in the second half too, and because at some point Wan-Bissaka is going to need a break, I would like to see Diego Dallo
Diego, yeah.
come on in the second half because
Well,
as good as Wan-Bissaka is, the way he played against Wolves, he's going to get himself carded and he's going to get himself suspended.
I mean, more than that, we need to have um, someone maximize his effort and energy on Sun. I mean, that's the biggest threat.
Yeah, and Wan-Bissaka has been highly underrated by Manchester United fans. He's one of those guys that just completely underappreciated for all the
Yeah.
the work that he does. Like he's arguably our best defender and he doesn't really go noticed.
Well, I think he'll have a great season. And like you said, yeah, very underrated. I don't know if you heard this, but um, in the summer he talked about how when Ten Hag came, he was thinking that he might leave Manchester United, that he was going to be outed,
Mhm.
um, and uh, he's gotten a second chance, and I think that was kind of what he's needed with Ten Hag, that he's earned his trust, and um, having someone like that, I think just builds even a bigger confidence in a player. And we saw it last game, and I hope to see more of it. But I mean, as far as defending, he's been one of our best. I'd probably say Varane has been the most consistent defender for us. Um, and Martinez has been great, but he's gotten beat a couple times. He's gotten some cards, but um, I mean, Juan Bissaka has been our best, you know, wing back there, and he's definitely the most athletically gifted one.
And I think the rise of guys like Sancho and Wan-Bissaka, a lot of that has to do with the discipline that Eric Ten Hag is installing and installating into this team. Because before that, with Rolf Ragnarok and freaking
Oh,
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they didn't really have discipline, so they were kind of just going out there. Oh, I'm making $250,000 a week, so why do I care? But now Ten Hag has them dressing a certain way, practicing a certain way, and you can start to really see it when they play that they look a lot more like a team and they look a lot more disciplined. And I think throughout the season that's really going to help.
yeah, for sure. Especially as long as the season is, um, we we need that training in the beginning and the structure to you know go through those because I mean we're gonna have times where you know it's November and there's 2 games a week, or it's February, it's cold, it's rainy, and you just got to fight through those times, and just sometimes more of it's a mental game, and those types of situations. So it's great to see those players fight back and want to fight for the club. And you know, again, Juan Bissaka, I feel like might have been man of the match, with just that pass alone. But also he was consistent throughout the whole game. So um, it's great to see.
And before we wrap up here, looking forward, United has a very easy schedule to start. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yes,
They have
it's definitely favorable.
they have Spurs on Saturday, and then they go Nottingham Forest. They'll struggle with Arsenal, but then they have Brighton without Moises Caicedo, McAllister, and all those guys. And then they have newly promoted Burnley, Crystal Palace, Brentford, Sheffield United before they have the Derby on October 29th. So that's a fairly easy schedule to get a lot of wins in that time period before you have the Derby with Manchester City.
Yeah, I feel um,
I
like you
expect
said, we've got a handful of wins expected, and the only are I mean Tottenham won't be a
Tottenham won't
letdown
be a
by any means.
cakewalk by any means, but I don't think that they'll struggle nearly like they did with Wolves, and I don't really see a challenge after Tottenham outside of Arsenal.
Where's that one being played? Is that
That is at the
Old Trafford? Is
Emirates.
that a
No, it's at the
Emirates? Okay,
Emirates.
so that'll be a tough game. But I'd rather catch um, Arsenal early. They still got some new players in there, and I mean we just played them, so I feel like that's gonna give us an edge there as well.
And we will talk about that when it gets closer, but in the meantime, Spurs Saturday. We will be back next week to discuss that game, and then we'll be discussing or looking forward to Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
Is there anything else before we get up out of here that you want to say?
I think that's about it. Did you want to do a man of the match for the Wolves game?
Yeah, okay, so man of the match for me, um, I would have to agree with you. I think it would be Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think just the way that he played and the way he commended the defense, and then you could really
And
see him shift when Sancho came into the game and
yeah,
dropped down to that
and
false
making those
nine
runs. Yeah,
and opening up the wing a little bit. You could really see him making those runs, which led to that great assist. So yeah, I would
yeah.
have to agree with you. Wan-Bissaka, man of the match to me.
All right. Yeah.
And there's still a lot of guys that have to prove themselves. Honestly, from a debut, like I said, wasn't too impressed with Mason Mount, but I know he's still getting his feet wet, and it's just the first game, so it's like you can't expect too much in game one.
Yeah. Hard to take away, the whole season and into one game, but um, yeah. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, man of the match. Top it off with the cherry with that great assist into the box, and then we'll see how guys like. I feel like Shaw could have had a better game.
I
I
agree.
feel like Garnacho, like you said, it just looked like he was so jittery on the ball,
I don't. I
which
think it's because the nerves of him starting a game like that, like the first Premier League game of the
yeah,
season, in front of a
yeah,
home crowd like that, that's anxious to see
because he
under
looked good in preseason,
under a whole
but
full year under Eric Ten Hag. The crowd's excited. He got a little
yeah,
nervous. I think the pressure got to him a little bit.
yeah,
But
and
I just
then
think,
Mount
like I said, I
could
think he's
definitely
a
and
better. I think he's a better like in that sixth man role or like the first guy off the bench kind of role. I think
yeah.
that fits Garnacho much better.
for
because
sure, for sure.
because of his age, him being younger, when in the second half, and a lot of those guys have already played 60, 65 minutes. They're tired. You can insert
Yeah,
Garnacho for that change of pace.
for sure. Uh, I'm interested to see what he does, but I wouldn't rule Garnacho completely out of the lineup just yet. But I would love to see Sancho start at the center forward slash false nine. And
One more
um,
thing before we get out of here.
all right,
For Saturday, do you see Anthony Martial starting?
I just don't think so. I don't think he's fit. I think he's healthy now, but I don't think he's fit yet. I
From
think we'll
what
see
from
him
what reports
against.
said, Ten Hag said that he's able to play, so we will just have to see. But
I
I think
I can.
that I think you're right. I think we see Sancho as like the false nine against Tottenham, and then I think Martial
We'll
will
see him
make
again.
his starting debut against Nottingham Forest.
Him. That's yeah. There we go. I think we'll see him against Forest, and I think that's a better spot for him to play. Honestly,
Um,
um,
yeah,
and
this was a good week one. I hope that oh, you can finish what you were saying, but I hope that you guys enjoyed this. We will be back next week to discuss the Tottenham game and look forward to Nottingham Forest. I'm not sure when the Champions League draw is. I just hope that they're a little nice to us and don't go too crazy.
that's good luck with that one. But um, yeah, sounds great, and we'll be back next week.
Yeah, thanks guys for hanging out. We will see you guys in the. As far as my other content goes, my mic is being uh, technically troubled right now, so I have to do audio things a different way. I will finish up my NFL prediction soon. I will finish up the NFC with the NFC West, and then I'll move straight into the AFC. Those videos will be dropping sometime next week and the week after to finish it up. This video will be dropping most likely. Um, we are recording this on a Thursday. This will probably drop on Friday or early morning Saturday before the Spurs game, but most likely it'll drop tomorrow on Friday, so you guys can have something to look forward to before the weekend. And we'll see you guys next time.